Okay, I'm not going to go over homework questions, but you guys feel free to talk to each other about them, and then we can talk about questions that you have tomorrow from the homework yesterday. But really, when you do the matching, you want to kind of look at those derivatives and think about when they would be zero, when they would be positive, when they would be negative. And we're going to get a little bit more practice with that today. So if you have a lot of questions on that, hopefully the worksheet today will help clear that up. And if not, then we can talk about that tomorrow when I return. So I have a worksheet for you today. So if that hasn't been passed out, you can go ahead and pause the video until you get that worksheet and unpause it when you're ready. Maybe you're never going to be ready. Okay, I'm assuming everyone has the worksheet. If not, pause me again. So on the front side of this worksheet is a bunch of slope fields, and those are lots of points to make points on. I will tell you, I'll show you my answer key if you really don't believe me for tomorrow, but I made the slope field for every single one of these points on here. That's absurd, right? But if you want to maybe not do so many, maybe we could use this little square here, right? That means do all the ones in the square, including the ones on the square, so you can kind of eliminate the outside edge. I think I told Katie Hansel she didn't even have to do this one. I think so. Then that just puts you putting 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 dots. That's still a lot, but you know, you have the time to work on it today. So you can do that and practice doing those. But I'm not going to help you with those because those are just plugging things in, right? What I want to look at is the second page. So on the second page, they give you a bunch of equations and they give you a bunch of slope fields and they ask you to match those up. But I want you to see that that's different than what was on your homework yesterday because these are the actual functions. They're not the derivatives. So I'm going to double page this. And so I kind of have these over here. So it says match each slope field with the equation that the slope field could represent. So remember, like these are going to represent when you draw those curves in. So looking, some of them are going to be easier than others. Like, I'll help you with this one. Y equals 1, right? Think about what the derivative of that function is, right? What would the derivative be? Well, the derivative would be 0. So look at each of those choices, and is there a graph where the derivative is always 0 no matter what? D, right? Like if you drew in the equation y equals 1, it would match perfectly that it always has a slope of 0. So question 7 should be letter choice D. Right? So think about how tricky some of those can be, especially looking at like 12 and 13. 12, which one fits the function y equals sine of x? But think about what the derivative of sine is cosine, right? Those are going to be a little bit tricky to think about. And so, you know, for me, I kind of jumped around and did the ones I was most confident with first, and then I thought about when is the slope 0. So definitely talk with each other on those, compare answers, and we might go over those answers tomorrow before we turn this in. But try your best on those. And then the next page, oh look, I'll just dual page this again so I can see it better. The next page at the top, that's like what was on your homework yesterday. So really important as we start looking at slope fields that you see the difference in what we're looking at here. So on 15 through 18, they give you the derivatives and they ask you to match up the slope fields with those differential equations. And so for me, when I look at 16 right away, right, 16 has only y in it. So think about what we talked about yesterday when y is the only one in the equation and not x. Those slopes should all be the same, either vertically or horizontally. Think about which one that's going to be. And the same thing on 15, although there's some other numbers in there. 15 only has x in it, so you should be able to look at those choices and say which one is the same for the x value being the same the whole time. And then when you get over here to 17 and 18, right, for me, I always think about what makes the derivative go to 0. Is there anything that makes the derivative undefined? Right? And undefined slope is one that's just straight up and down, but I'll tell you that a lot of times on these graphs, undefined slope is just not drawn in meaning that it's just left blank. But also that could be read that as 0, it's left blank. So kind of think about those as you're doing those. So I'm not going to give you the answers to these, but I just wanted to make sure that we understood the difference between these problems where they give you the actual function and these problems where they give you the derivative. And you have the rest of the time to work on this. Please use your time wisely. Talk to each other about this and try to get it as complete as possible. We will turn this in tomorrow. We will probably talk about these 2 pages, these matching ones, together before we turn it in to kind of see if we're on the same page before we turn that in. Okay? All right, get to work.